John Cena.
John Cena.
GM, everyone.
GM, guys.
GM.
Yo, GM.
Yo, how are we doing, fellow travelers? Welcome to episode 1.69, maybe episode 2 if we round up, of the Silk Road. Good day, listeners. Welcome to the Silk Road, where the Eastern and Western worlds of Web3 and NFTs converge. Our story begins on a path that dates back over 2 millennia, a path that once connected East and West in the pursuit of silk, spices, and knowledge. In reality, not much has changed. We are still intrepid travelers on a perilous journey, but we've traded our camel caravans and physical wares for non-custodial wallets and ether. Let's traverse together as we share the latest Web3 developments, trends, and insights from across the globe. Welcome to Silk Road. GM gang, how are we doing today?
Bro, every time, I know this is just episode number 2, but that intro, banger as always. It get me pumped. And Tony, good music choice. Definitely, we got the vibes up, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a beautiful day here in Texas. It's cool weather. I think we've got a lot of really cool stuff to unpack. And we got some spices. Got some spices in the stall. Maeve, what's going on over there, dude?
I thought we're the ones that have the spices. Actually, okay, I probably failed
what are we
probably
trading?
failed my history lessons. You probably have the spices, actually. We don't have the spices, actually.
Maybe
We
the
got
barbecue sauce. Yeah.
Who's trading whose spices?
Awesome. I'm excited.
Let's get things kicked off for today. Let's get a little vibe check. You know what I mean? See how the vibes are in the East. We'll see how the vibes are in the West. Tony's got his black hoodie on. It is officially NFT hoodie season, clearly. So all that Bored Ape merch. There you go. Doodles have a posse. That's actually a sick hoodie.
Shout out to Bandit.
Damn. Is that Vape-Diverse? Is that a little Vape-Diverse? Oh, everyone's got the merch. Oh, wait. What's going on? Yeah, it's officially NFT merch season. Get out your black hoodies. Ooh, the Mochaverse hat. Damn, we're just degenerates. We're just like head to toe, dripped out,
walking, talking billboards,
if you will. Yeah, that's awesome. But let's get the vibes. Let's see, Puker. How are the vibes this past couple of weeks?
I was hoping that you actually pass it to me and not Maeve, because I want to just come up with everything. But as usual, Malaysia vibes are high. We actually attended ETH KL, which is Kuala Lumpur, our main city, and it was the first time that I joined an event in Malaysia that is not NFT related. It's more towards crypto, wallet, and stuff like that. And so it's just amazing to see a lot of like mixed people. We have like young kids who join in. They're all into like dev work and stuff like that. About 200 people attended on a 3-day event. We have about 7 side events, so it's not too crazy if you were to compare with like Singapore Token 2049 and stuff like that. But I feel like a lot of people are doing something. We get people from Singapore flying in, from French. I met someone from Japan. So Malaysia, it's a country I would say is still growing. 200 people over a weekend, first time joining it. I feel like there's so many things that can be done. But definitely, I spent. I remember yesterday I was asking the question, how did you touch grass on the weekend? And I actually didn't, because I was busy hopping from one side event to the next. Next week it's Ep.Fest. We're gonna go over to ETH Hong Kong first, and then Ep.Fest. So, bro, vibes are high. Vibes are high.
Dude, to be honest, it sounds like you definitely had some normies there, because I don't even think there's 200 people left in Web3
Yeah,
in the United States, to be fair.
The math is not mathing,
Yeah.
There's gotta be some normies. That's awesome to hear that. It's so good to hear that the vibes are still high. Last time we talked, you guys were coming off of Korea Blockchain Week in Singapore 2049, and it just seems like more events. You got Fest next week. That's so cool to hear that people are still gathering in Web3. That's really cool. Maeve, what about you? How are the vibes, according to Maeve?
I don't know. Puke sucked all my vibes. Anything I could say is pretty much have been said. So, well, I just want to say though, I learned a lot. I think me and Puke, when we started this thing, we are very much so not as connected with the local scene, and now like we want to take like extra effort to just like I don't know how to say in a non-dirty way, but like mingle and like touch base with everybody. And yeah, shout out to APU. It's one of the local colleges. I'm probably wrong, but yeah, they have this program. So during the hackathon, so interesting enough, when you go to any anything event, it's 3-day thing. So the first day is for the hackathon. Literally, like devs go there, demo, pitch, and whatnot. And yeah, me and Puke, we were there. We were like, yo, enthusiastic, right? We bought our tickets. We had go and cover, but it was like just like serious. So it's like a lecture hall. You can imagine if we were just there, like we're just doing our thing while they like pitching around. It'd be pretty weird. It would be pretty weird. So yeah, we couldn't do too much. We're gonna check out ETH Hong Kong this weekend. See how we're gonna crash the scene. While everybody does their demo, we're like, no, this one no. We flew over there, so we're gonna crash everything. We're just gonna like do our thing.
Mate, like I feel so out of place, especially during the hackathon. Right? It's like, what is this NFT normie doing there? I was like, just
The devs are like
do something.
They're like 8 Red Bulls deep, and you guys like, hey, you guys want to be on like Twitter Spaces? And they're like, get it, build it.
Sorry, I don't speak non-solidity languages. Like,
yeah,
we've lost them. Yeah, I guess like in North America, there's been a number of different, like you said, like hardcore Web3 things. Like there's like been Masari, ETH Global. Those are for people that are definitely really building products on chains. A lot of layer 2 stuff. I know Optimism and all those folks are going crazy. I think like Arbitrum has like a new thing that's coming out, like what would you call those things? Like an airdrop that people are farming. I think Optimism is on the next one too.
Ooh. Arbitrum airdrop?
Okay. I think there is. I think it's like, retroactive public goods funding. At least I know that's what Optimism does. So I think it's something similar with Arbitrum.
Okay.
But I think
Optimism. Say that again. That sounds really sexy, man. Could you say that? There's a lot of words, man.
On that front of like live events, yeah, the NFT folks haven't done any events in the past 2 weeks, I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Livs.
I mean, well, and this is something that I was going to talk about a little bit later, but no major events, but there's been some like side little pop-ups, gallery stuff that we can kind of talk about. It's a little bit of a different trend over here. So we'll get into that in a little bit.
The one thing that I will say that was super like bullish was the acquisition of Gutter Cat Gang. That happened. They were down in the dumps, and then I think they pumped, like they doubled in price from like 0.7 or maybe even 0.4, and I think they're like over like 1.3 or 1.4 right now. Gutter was always like a super strong like skater, like hip hop type brand. I guess they kind of fell off, but this guy kind of came in and said, hey, I'll throw $500K towards it, like to invest in it. I don't know if you actually had to pay for it or not, but the space has responded extremely well to it. I saw Luca Nets aped in. All these other people are starting to be more proud to rep the gang. So I just got to say gang. I'm not in there, but I've seen them all over the timeline.
Me and Puke, I think we were covering this last week. And I think that, I don't know if we have time, but like a quick question is like, I guess, what do you guys think when it comes to acquiring a Web3 native IP? because I think it was really interesting. It's like, oh, okay, I mean, like we get it, right? Gang, they've been around. They're definitely one of the OGs, and then this I don't even know if you consider it. I mean, it's non-disclosed yet, but it's like a partial or like a full acquisition. Not too sure on that. But yeah, I think like the question for us right here is like, what is it that people look for? Is it like nostalgia? You know, obviously like if we look at like or we reference Pudgy, right? The main thing is it's sellable, it's cute. Those things I think we pretty much figure out. But like yeah, what are the things that I was just trying to figure it out. What things that they look for? Because yeah, it was pretty sudden for me. I was like, okay, like this
It
is for
was
me.
it was out of the blue. I like you're saying. I think Luca, what he probably saw a character, right? Like he saw a
Right.
character, and he said, "Let's go with that." What's her face? Carly P. Riley is like, Asia loves cute. Luca's like, oh, Asia loves cute. Every woman and children has something cute there. So I get that. With Gutter Cat, I mean, gun to my head, I would think like if you were building like a skate brand, it definitely has a vibe and it looks different. It's kind of more like Bored Ape, like it is not for everyone. Like Mutant Apes, kids don't want that on their lunch boxes. You know what I mean? Like people are like want that on like their bag of weed or something, which is that's fine. It's definitely I think having character centered IP on brands works. You see Frosted Flakes like on cereal, you see Trix on yogurt. I think doing that, like I think skate brands is probably what I would think you would do
Yeah.
it with.
I,
I like it because it reminds me of the brand Rip and Dip, whereby you have a
oh, hey,
T-shirt and then it
little
always
pocket.
has like the cats, the little pockets with the cats, right? So it feels like that sort of vibes. I think the similar project like Gutter Cat, I would say it's like Creeps or Overlord, right? They have
Mhm.
like that unique character. It's kind of like if you know it, the community is strong. They've been around for like 1 2 years. They are still doing a lot of stuff. I would link like Gutter Cat with Creeps Overlord as well, a unique IP. But I do see like for example like becoming a merch brand like Rip and Dip, whereby the cat has like that similar traits to it.
I guess to me, it's probably little to do with the artwork itself, right? Because I mean, character IP is a dime a dozen, right? Like Disney has more character IP sitting on shelves collecting dust than they know what to do with, right? And so to me, I think the value in Gutter Cat Gang, if it has any, is probably the partnerships, right? They release a sneaker with Puma, if I'm mistaken, the Gutter Mellows.
Mhm.
They've had some association with some different basketball teams and things like that in the past. So I'm like, that's maybe the thing that has value or can be leveraged. But we'll see. I think it's a tough situation to acquire projects. I think Luca probably acquired Pudgy a lot earlier on. That was more like, this is a character. Let's see what we can do. He had to put in all the work. If I'm looking to acquire Pudgies, it's because there's existing partnerships in place that could be doubled down on. He can go around with a pitch deck and be like, hey, we've done a partnership with Puma. We've done a shoe deal already. These are out there. Here's the numbers. So I'm like, that has a little more value. I think it's less about the art, but I think there's a precarious position that you put yourself in because you're essentially people are going to be looking to you to be the savior of a project that I think has been kind of rugging for a long time. So those expectations are going to be high.
I would say on the flip side, I think that because they have like a fairly large ecosystem, they have like different collections. Like cats, I think are only 2K. And then they expand as they go on. They have like the clones, the juices, the pigeons, the rats. I think that there's a lot of potential if you reactivated those people and you got them on your side, that like having your true 100, 200, 500 fans, being able to leverage that and actually like what are their expectations? They just got rugged. You know what I mean? They're probably pretty low. So you give
You
them
would think.
like a little layup and they might really help um galvanize the marketing versus just like, hey, I'm gonna build a brand out of nothing and having to mint an NFT project to create a community. I'd rather buy one. That stuff
Man, I
sucks.
think bro, like in Web3, as long as you have like a comeback story, people are just hyped for no reason, right? It's like, oh, we just got acquired, new leadership, new people, fresh ideas and stuff like that, and people just pump. Like we these days we need just new stories over and over and over again to get us pumped. So yeah, I think that is an interesting take. One, you acquire the brand before you actually build it, and next is like they are building halfway. You acquire it and then you scale further. I think this is a good, I think, 2 case study that we could actually see for the next 6 months, which whether or not they actually succeeded. But yeah, I think like people are buying NFT brands right now in the bear market. It's good for NFTs, bro.
You could buy an entire brand for as much as you could buy a single NFT for in the bull. Um,
True.
I
That
mean,
is so true,
kind of,
bro.
yeah, right. Now, what'll
Oh
be
my
interesting to see, because we know these things kind of come in cycles, right? And so, to your point, story is important, timing's important. How many kind of soft rug projects are going to try to follow this meta, if you will?
Little Lemons got acquired.
New leadership.
No
Did you see
way.
that? Yeah,
Lemons.
yeah, they did.
Lemons.
Oh, I gotta
Yeah,
check
Dude,
this.
the Little Lemons did.
Maeve's favorite is lemons. That's it. Like hands down.
So the
Hold on.
vibes is get acquired is what we're
That's the new meta. No, that's the new meta to get
that's the new
acquired.
meta, get acquired.
Yeah, it was first rebrand. Now it's acquisitions
Yes,
and mergers.
acquisitions. You heard it. You heard it here first. It was rebrands, layoffs, acquisitions. That's the order of things.
Comeback kid.
All right. Let's dive into a little segment that we got here. We're talking about different projects, why things are happening. So we're gonna look to the charts, because we're people of data. We're serious, So we're gonna look at the OpenSea top 10 chart, pick a couple out of theirs, and we're gonna determine why is it pumping to the best of our ability, based on our data, our gut feeling, our experience, all the stuff that matters. So let me pull this up here. We'll take a look at the chart together and we'll figure out why is it pumping. All right, we got our OpenSea up here. Let's see, which one are we hitting first? Do we want to talk about, let's see, I think Puker, you wanted to talk about a project that I was unfamiliar with. It's longevity.
Yeah,
Why?
because I
What is-
was figuring out. I was like, all right, let me pick one that we don't know what the fuck is going on. And,
Liz,
and
can you
then
pull up the art so we can just like see what we're talking about too?
Oh,
Let's see
you guys,
what, like-
you guys gonna love this. You guys gonna love
You guys
this.
are talking about art, like the Gutter Cat art. So
All right,
good.
all right. So like I did my my DYOR research and stuff. So basically this project it's, I would say, like a unique minting experience, right? So
Okay.
you go to the website and you just click mint. So it's a free mint. But when you mint it, you can select. So there's no limit on how much you can mint. So for example, if you mint 1, you mint 2, you mint 3, or go ahead because it's a free mint, right? So what you do is you minted it, and then it will load to this whole big picture whereby it's a complete art. All right. They have 10 different types of, I would say, 10 different types of like shapes. And you go and mint it to paste on the art. So it's just people coming together, filling up the pieces of the parser just to complete the whole picture. That's it.
Oh.
So it's kind of like, just I wouldn't say it's like, oh, it's a free mint PFP, you mint it, and then you hope that it flip. Not really that case. This is more towards like people having fun. So if you look at the floor price, it's not really high, right? It's 0.004, which is not too high, but it's more towards like, oh, this is a new minting process. After I mint it, I can like select and see, where I can paste it and stuff like that. So I feel like, hey, this is a little bit interesting to see people innovate, not just launching free mint and that's it, but innovate in terms of creating the artwork. So right now it's minted, fully minted out. I feel like some of the people they minted it, they did not really fill it up. So after a week, all the puzzles will actually just go and complete it by themselves. After this, I have no idea what's gonna happen. Like I hope they actually have like the second or third picture or fourth picture to keep going. But I think it's an interesting thing to see, like, you minting a puzzle and actually everybody comes in collectively to fill up and create a whole picture. So yeah, that is Elongevity Enigma.
Okay, I have some thoughts about this because this is something that we're going to talk about later, at least from the West, as far as a theme, a meta, if you will. Like you said, it's fun, it's on chain, and I think these interesting and unique minting mechanics is something I'm starting to see more and more and more. That actually has some value.
I'm getting like early Tiles GG vibes from this. I haven't played Tiles GG, but this guy in the Doodles community called Lost Potato, and it's this thing that they do on Reddit where it's like a token gated, like you can fill in like a pixel or a square to make a picture, and there's like these weird refresh rate things. So it's essentially like an online community event / game, which seems similar to this. Like you don't know what the picture is going to be, and based on your choices, like in this case, you're saying like how many things do you mint? That means how many pieces you can add. I'm not sure the mechanic for Tao's GG, but I don't know if it's completely on chain like this thing is. So it's cool. I guess it's just I don't necessarily know why it needs to be an NFT, but
That's true.
more
That's
power
true.
to it.
I have to take a look at the project to see why does it have to be an NFT.
Yeah.
That's a good question. All right, so we appreciate the download, Puker, on Elongevity Enigma in the puzzle NFT. Let's see. I have another one listed on our list called Beacon, but I'm not seeing that on the top 10. So someone explain to me, why is it pumping and why is it on our list?
I will.
Thank you,
I
babe.
did some research. I did and did research, but no, I do know a bit about Deacon because I think I faded them or I didn't get whitelist one way or the other, unfortunately for me. But yeah, I think Deacon started off as like a project that you could mint those like little. I don't even all remember the meta where like land plots were a thing, and
Yep.
I'm pretty sure they were backed by. So on their profile, at least, it says that they're powered by Treasure DAO. Yeah, okay, yeah, I remember now. So they were originally on Treasure DAO, and I faded them. Yes, now I remember. I faded them. So perish on Maeve. It's all right, just another day. And yeah, because
Never
they,
been
they they're
Treasure
like
DAO.
little land. I was like, what is Treasure DAO, man? I was like, me, and then like obviously I regretted, but it's one of those things. More importantly, they well, you basically could build your game in the town, and like they show like previews and all. Everybody was like really hyped about it, but like such development, I think it takes time, right? It really really takes time. And more recently, I think with their latest update, everybody is excited because their video, if you guys haven't seen it yet, is pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Like I dig the art. Puke, it's pixelated because it's pixelated, and it's just
Yeah, of course, of course. Is the meta of like good NFT project producing good videos equal to bullish? Is that the meta? Still the meta
We
right now?
love a good trailer. I will tell you that much. I love a good trailer.
Okay, and then it's like a medieval with a bit of like fantasy, and it's pixelated. So it's like I'm a bit wet, but yes, it's my vibe. And yeah, seems like Q4 leading up to Q1, a lot is gonna happen. I think a lot of developers have to. I mean, no, not a lot of developers. I think it takes time to build things, and as much as like we want to see things happen as fast as we can, it's also not good to rush things. And I think we've seen this happen time and time again that things that are being rushed too quickly. I'll take Azuki as an example. Uh, even like D-Gods, right? It was kind of like too much pressure. They gotta get it going, so they delay, and then everybody's expectation is just kind of like always like that. Right? It's just like always just up and down. Everybody's not
Sure.
too happy. Yeah, it's tough. But yeah, that's in a nutshell. Beacon. Build your game on top. You're gonna get more tools to build more games on top of your own land. Game. Treasure down.
Yeah, so I'm getting like a little bit of a similar concept to upcoming Nifty Island.
Oh, Nifty Island. Interesting comp.
Yeah, so like, it's just a thing like where you get land, you build a place that people can play, and then you can also like make or mint, like weapons and different stuff like that to sell it on a marketplace. It's definitely like Nifty Island is like a high fidelity game, and it's based on
This is RuneScape right there.
3D avatars. But this thing is already is the game already playable at this point, Maeve?
It is playable, but to like a certain extent. Obviously, I think as like they just want like the community to try things out. I'm pretty sure they are bug testing quite a bit, but yeah, you can play it to a certain extent.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like kind of like. Do you think it's more than like Pudgy World right now though? Because Pudgy World, I think you can just walk around and like climb upstairs. Or is it like?
So I feel like this game can definitely fight because like you can go through like dungeon stages and all, which it kind of fits the vibe, right? Fantasy,
Sure.
pixel, yeah. I think there's definitely slightly more gameplay than PUBG World, but oof, that's a really good point. But I think as a roadmap shows, I'm pretty excited myself. So kind of like digging deeper into it a little bit. I think it's just the pixel art build. It's just my kryptonite right now. It's just like I like it. Trailer is good.
Yes,
It's just like,
pixels. Well, I think it's just cool that something's coming out of Treasure DAO. They've been around for a long time, and so to see them kind of execute something like that is really cool. It does definitely remind me of RuneScape for sure, has a RuneScapey vibes. Let's see here. I think up next we wanted to talk about ENS. Now ENS, I've got one. It's a little bit far off my radar. Who wants to tell me why it's on the top 10?
all right, I will. I mean, ENS guys, like 3 digit, 2 digit, 4 digits. The names is not so much though. I feel like when it comes to like what's the example? Dgen, right? I say dgen.eth. I feel like words never move as much as they used to. And well, actually, oh, sorry, I'll take that back. They do move because I know there's an ENS group. They do like weekly spaces. I'm pretty sure one of the hosts or co-hosts, they kind of like organize, or they were one of the groups that what's it called, early invested into ENS. Oh no, what was that platform? There's an ENS platform. I can't recall of it right now. So do like weekly spaces, educate and all. So those guys very much so they are in the line of like buying up like rare domains. But yeah, I think in general still number domains moves a lot of the volume. But more importantly, when it comes to ENS, they they announced two what's it called partnerships. One is with 3D&S. So they are on their bio literally it's the first on-chain web domain registrar. Yeah, supporting .com, XYZ, Box, and many more TLDs. Yeah, and the more important one is their partnership with JP Morgan. So,
Whoa.
yep.
I
Pardon me?
lost that one.
Well, okay, so what I'm hearing is not necessarily anything new with ENS, kind of like same as it ever was, but also it does sound like I remember seeing that they hired a business development person a while ago and maybe like a community management person, which I think, as far as I know, I'm definitely not plugged in with the ENS community, but I think they had kind of been memed on for a long time for having a ton of money in their treasury and then like showing up to conferences with like a little dinky table and they're like, we're ENS. Hey, like, so it sounds like maybe they're actually starting to facilitate some partnerships. I saw they may have even partnered with Coinbase Wallet a while ago. So it sounds like it reminds me of like Consensus with MetaMask. Like they're around, but they're not active, right? Like someone like Polygon Ventures, who's just like out there rocking the BD, doing all that stuff and seeing a lot of success behind that. It seems like some of these quote unquote legacy brands or legacy protocols, whatever you want to call them, kind of had like a build it and they will come approach. They weren't doing a lot of forward facing stuff. And it seems like maybe they're doing some of that stuff now.
I mean, to be fair, if people like that were like early ENS maxis, they probably might have been around in the .com bubble and were like domain cartel members, and like just selling websites and becoming millionaires. So I'm sure that I've started to see people like that, like Shane Kultura, who used to do that, talking about it a lot more on my timeline. So I think, if there's, if a lot of things are bearish, that's definitely something like a long term. If you do subscribe to the fact that, on chain is the new online, yeah, buy ENSs, I guess, not financial advice.
I could see kind of a rotation back down. I hesitate to call
Yeah.
ENS fundamentals, but in the sense of like it's a little more
stable coins,
concrete, if that makes sense. Like, okay,
sure, there's a use case for it that makes sense.
Do you guys own ENS?
Yeah, I mean, we have I
couple.
have dudelifts.eth. We have like a TGID. Is it TGID.eth?
No, I think we have TGI Doodles.
TGI Doodles.eth, yeah. So we've got a couple.
I have NF Tony P, Food Dude, a couple other.
I think it's like a degen style, right? Like you see that there's available names, you just want to get it just because you can book it, and it's like that's it.
That's what I'm
It's
saying. We've been trained to do that with usernames, domain names. Like that's the world we grew up in.
I think it's fun. I think it's funny.
Totally.
Like
I love the
people are like,
Pokemon.
look at
The
these funny
Pokemon
names that
DNS
I found.
movement to me is kind of one of the more entertaining ones, to be fair, because there's only like a finite amount of Pokemon, and I'm like that somehow makes it like finite. It's interesting. But last but not least, on the why is it pumping? We still have Sugartown, right? So it looks like they've done 194 ETH in volume over the past 7 days. Floor price maintained at 0.19 for a free mint. Not bad, not bad at all. 0.19, it's pretty good.
Do you have any stats on like how many are being staked? Yeah.
Last I heard, it was around 70%, stake. So fairly high. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Sugartown is the Web3 wing or Web3 venture of Zynga Games. So they've started beta testing. So they alpha and just beta tested their new game called NGMI, which is like a side-scrolling. It's very similar to Geometry Dash if you played Zynga games in the past. So in order to play that, in order to qualify for the beta events, you had to stake your aura, which is the unrevealed PFP for Zynga. So those PFPs will be revealing this week, is what we know. They've had some sneak peeks. I think people are generally bullish on Sugartown. They're like, it's Zynga, it's Web3 gaming. There's seemingly the only FUD that I've seen has been people calling the games reskinned. They're like, oh, they're just reskinned versions of the old Zynga games. And so that, you could go both ways with that. You could say, yes, that's kind of true, or they're, re-rolling their most popular games that had over 500 million downloads. And that's probably a pretty good strategy. So I think you can kind of go both ways.
Then I've got to say, when are we going to get Temple Run back? I used to love playing Temple Run on my app store.
Temple Run. Was that Zynga or was that somebody else? You just
no
curious.
idea. That was not Zynga. I just meant like if we're doing like reskins, if we're going down like the nostalgia,
bring it back.
Yeah, maybe
Pokemon
at least we could
chain.
like put some requests in.
Pokemon on chain.
I think it's a cycle, right? When it comes to like all this like nostalgia IP, even on the side topic a little bit, but like we look at, I think a lot of old series like Fraser and a couple others, they're just like coming back in waves right now. Everybody's just like reboot, reboot, reboot. I think last week an interesting thing that was shared by Fuji. He's based in Amsterdam, and he deals with a lot of like Japanese companies, right? So he said as much as like there's an abundance of IPs, there's also not enough new IPs because like everybody just kind of like stick to what is best, and it's pretty interesting because it's kind of true, right? I think like War of God, there's like War of God 4 or 5 or something like that, and Avengers, you just like go on and on and on. So what works, people just kind of stick to it and make many verticals, right? Either horizontal, whatever it is, you know, and very much so. There's a need of new, better IPs, which is a good reminder, to be honest. As much as like we say, oh, everybody has got like literally thousands of IPs in their bank, but at the same time, they're a lot not very usable, or I guess like it's not as cost efficient when it matters.
Yeah, no, I think you make a good point. At least what I can think, what IPs do I know is from what I grew up with in my childhood. So like when you're trying to put another one in there, it's like unless you're targeting children, and if you are, I think that might take a while for it to get to adults because it takes years and years for them to grow up. And how do you get adults to adopt a new IP when they already grew up a certain way? Like, does that have anything to do with brain development? I'm not sure. Maybe that's why Bored Ape would do a better job if they're targeting adults, or Pudgies seems to be targeting kids. I think you need to look at it more in like the 10 to 15, 20-year time horizon. But
Yeah,
that doesn't
I
pump our
agree with
bags right
you.
now.
Because like when we see, I would say like strong IP that we love right now, right? It's mostly due to, for example, a series or a cartoon that we watched when we were young, and we have that years of like 5-6 years to develop into the IP that we love. We buy, like, just look at this, like, behind me you have like Buzz Lightyear, right? Why? Because I watch them growing up, I like it, but I think like these days NFTs, for example, we talk about doodles, we talk about pudgy penguins, they are using a different way or different kind of meta to adopt to the IP. So maybe like, for example, these days when kids grow up, maybe the next 5 years, they'll be like, oh, I love the Pudgy Penguins IP because they started off from an NFT and then it become into something else global. So I feel like the different way of people adopting to IP will change, but whether or not it's effective, let's see.
Because you're also going to be competing with those big studios like whatever Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, that Fox Network that are going to do it the traditional way. They're like, hey, look, like what's that show that it did come out of an NFT project, Cripopolis, but
yeah.
But to be fair, like, was it really that big? They're just like, all right, it's going to be for 3 seasons on TV on cable. How the hell do you get on cable? Well, I mean, I guess if you own a studio, it works, right? So that's going to be interesting, right? Like I think that's kind of the space race right now. Can you get onto cable? I would think, I mean, how did I find out about Pokemon? TV show, video game, all
I
those
think
things.
that's an interesting take because the next one, everybody's racing to see who actually have not just a trailer, but actually like 12 episodes, right? Like these days, all the NFT projects are just doing like everybody say, oh, we have a vision of going into Netflix, Amazon, Apple, but none of it actually happened. So like transitioning to, for example, like one Japanese project called Den Dekaden, right? They have a studio backup which is Toei Animation. They are in charge for like some of like the crazy anime NFT and stuff like that. So I feel like everybody is racing towards that. And the first person that say, hey, we actually have on cable TV 12 episodes. We are the first. That I think it will make a big impact.
That's interesting. I guess I see a lot of projects aiming for socials, and maybe that's pre-TV, maybe that's pre-streaming, because I think at this point, you go to a Netflix, you go to a Hulu, whoever, you go, hey, we have 5,000 people that like us, and they're like, I don't know, we'll give you. And this is something Luca Netz has said in the past, is that they've gotten several offers from streaming services, but they said it was pennies on the dollar compared to what they could get post Amazon, post Walmart, post all this stuff. And so I think a lot of brands are looking to build up their social presence and their social clout. So then they can go to studios and say, hey, look, we have 1 billion impressions. We have this, that, and the other. We want some real money for this IP. So that's where I see people. It seems like Web2 socials are a little bit of the battleground amongst the top IPs in the space, at least from what I can see.
Yeah, I think that they're just kind of like more like letting us as content creators speculate, but they're definitely not like, hey, look, here's our trade secrets. They're kind of like walled garden, and when we make 100 million, like you'll know that we knew what we were talking about, right?
We'll see.
These are not unregistered securities.
Yes, right. We'll see. All right. Let's get into a little bit of kind of East v West, see what's going on your side of the globe, engage in some geographic arbitrage, spreading the alpha across the planet. So one of the first topics that I think we want to talk about was from the gang at Rug Radio Asia. Y'all mentioned this in your vibe check earlier, I think, but it was ETH KL. What is the story there? Who wants to take it?
Right? Yeah. I mean, like, Puke did a great job to say everything, so I wasn't sure if he was going to let me say. So I'm just going to double dip on whatever he said then.
A little double dip.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, double dipping. No, so, so from what we've learned, actually, every month, EVKL, the group, they actually host monthly meetups. And the more recent one, well, actually, they say monthly, but they also mentioned that their more notable one was actually the one that happened during May. They had about 200 attendees, and it's just very much so like, getting people together and actually bridging, literally bridging. Like, people come together, whatever food, I don't think there's food and drinks, but like people definitely come together and just chat, learn about Web3. They definitely cover some basics, get to know each other, or even just like reconnecting amongst Web3 builders. Not degens actually, just more Web3 builders. Don't know if degens, but yeah. And this one was I believe, and I'm quite certain, they had funding from E Foundation. So, like, with that funding, they organized the first ever EVE KL on such a scale. And yeah, registrants was about 750, I think, give or take. The attendees and all was pretty good, to be honest, for first time. Well, I think it's amazing. The one thing that highlight though was they had done barely any marketing, so it was literally just word of mouth. 700 registrants, purely on word of mouth. I think we're definitely going somewhere. That's for sure. We had about sorry They had 3 lecture halls booked out, and the location was really nice. In fact, you can either come up from, I don't know why I'm using my hands, but like you come up from this side and come up from the other side, and then like you come inside, everybody's like kind of like hanging out. But I think it was very friendly for panel speakers, because you go into the lecture halls and like, everybody's just kind of like there. They're pitching, they're talking, they're listening to the panel speakings and all that. And the side events are mostly very nearby, which was kind of nice actually. At the same time, prefer if there were some drinks, but maybe I think maybe that there wasn't. Maybe the next time there will be more drinks.
Budget,
There
bro.
was a lot of
Budget.
coffee though. Yeah, there was a lot of coffee. And yeah, I think just to put it out there, me and Puke very much so want to get more involved and build with the Malaysian builders. So yeah, to definitely put Malaysia on the map. Learned about DEFCON. Yeah, DEFCON, DEV, not the DEF.
Yes.
DEFCON,
That's like,
yes, yep, yep. Mm-hmm.
I do
Yeah,
think
I'm
that,
oh, good.
oh, go ahead, Tony.
I was going to say, I think that it's really cool how Vitalik and the Ethereum Foundation are putting their money where their mouth is in terms of globalization of, like where devs are, because everybody has their unique, the different teachers that they've had, the different type of life experiences that they've had to try to really, make Ethereum. I mean, there's a lot of L2s and stuff being built, but at the core, I think, you do need to find those people all over the planet. So bullish on that for sure.
No, and I just think it's cool that, word of mouth marketing, you got 700, signups and registrants for that. Like, I just don't know if we would do anything like that in the US, which I think speaks to the kind of hunger of people. And I think that's really cool that people are excited about that.
And also anti-hype cycle. So much stuff in the NFT space is hype cycle, but that's like legitimate, interest.
Yep. I think the difference is Malaysia, we have a lot of like this chat group, right? That is have like 300, 400, 500 people, different chat groups. So it's just, people sending the link, everybody go register, then they hop to the next one, they share it, they register, and it's just by chat groups. You get all of these signups. I think one thing it's like what you say is very true, right? NFT, a lot of like hype cycle, people talk stuff about over and over and over again. But when we go to ETH really, I would say maybe the knowledge of NFT is really minimal. They all see NFT as just a way or a marketing tool to onboard more people. That's it. It's more towards like what kind of protocol you're building, what kind of chain you're on. Is it L1? Is it L2? How we want to, do different stuff. Like we went to this course Starknet, which is just mainly, how they can combine all transactions together, make it faster, make it better. So it's more towards not just like culture, community wise, but more towards like dev coming in, brainstorming ideas. So like what can we build on top of the chain to make it better, make it faster, to make more people using it? I think it's more towards that direction. And man, like free flow of coffee it hit me crazy.
Unlimited coffee will build. That's the secret sauce. That's awesome to hear that kind of builder community is strong in Malaysia. That's really awesome. Now I know we were kind of going to go back and forth between East and West, but I'm just very curious and I want to hear about this. So maybe we can, break the system a little bit. So I'll give a little context to this. Tony has had, a lot of exposure and experience with the Doodles incubator, previously the Doodle Bank, which is the community treasury. And so since the incubator has gone through a little bit of a refresh, we've been doing a lot of thinking, and Tony, came up with this idea that maybe we can arbitrage. This is kind of a joke that we came up with in Spaces, right? That we could arbitrage other treasuries by buying their tokens. So essentially permissionlessly participating in their treasury as a community, like not an individual, right? So if like Doodles bought some nouns, then Doodles, the community, could make proposals to the
In
Nouns
Nouns DAO.
DAO. So it's like this whole crazy thing, right? And we were like, oh, this is so crazy, right? And then we see this tweet that Mochaverse is increasing their position of ApeCoin so that they can participate in the ApeCoin DAO. And I was like, oh, these
It's already
guys,
been done.
these
Yeah, I
guys
was
are
like,
doing it to the tune of millions, right? Like we're like, we want to buy 2 nouns. And so we just thought that was so cool. So I wanted to hear what you guys had to say. You know, what is maybe some of the story behind Mochaverse? You know, participating in the ApeCoin DAO. If you know of any of the things that they've been able to do as a result of that, we'd love to hear more about that. So yeah, take it away, Mochaverse ApeCoin
Yeah.
DAO.
The Mochaverse stuff, I'll leave it to Maeve because he's like the Mocha expert. He's wearing the specs, so you can see like the 3 eyes, right? But he has 4 eyes. But the fact that you and Tony was talking about it, bro, like even way before Mochaverse did it, actually there's this project called Project Gojira. I'm not too
Oh,
sure
yeah.
if you're
Yeah, yeah.
familiar with it, right? But what they do is they actually have 2 nouns bought in using the community treasury, and every time they have like this Gojira tank where their community members will actually submit proposal, and then the founder will pick and then go and get funding from nouns. So it has already been a few times that they already got the funding. That is one. The next one was there's this one time actually Luca wanted to get the funding from nouns to do some initiative for Pudgy.
Yes.
Yeah, and Shan actually sent the noun over to Luca for him to submit his proposal, and it got approved. So I think like definitely the angle that you were talking about, like when for example Doodle has a big bank, right? And it's not just limited to Doodle's members to use it, but communities can actually purchase and then come out with good proposal, because end of the day, whether it's your committee or it's from a different committee, as long as it goes to brand, I think it's win-win situation. So yeah, I think this is definitely something that we can explore. Like Pewcast, buy one doodle and submit. I'm just saying.
Well, that's what I'm saying is there's layers to this arbitrage, right? Nouns are expensive, doodles are not as expensive. So if you wanted to have the ability to propose to the nouns DAO in the cheapest way possible, you could potentially buy a doodle. You see like the kind of layers to this. It's kind of interesting. But Maeve, yeah, tell us the Mochaverse ApeCoin DAO story.
Ooh, this is pretty interesting because I just learned about this. Well, actually, I saw this. I think it was yesterday. Anyhow, doesn't matter. The time doesn't matter. But there are, like, I'm just gonna go top of my head. The main thing that any mocha brands wants to do with Mochaverse, why they actually bought ape tokens and whatnot, is to educate people on what are DAOs for. That's actually one of the main reasons, and by doing so, everybody participates, understands how these proposals are made, and that would, I think, let me think if I can even say this. Yeah, I think can. But the main thing is basically on education. They want to educate people on DAOs because I think Yatsu and the team very much so are championing this. Hong Kong this year, leading towards 2024, will be very exciting as well. And I think a lot of their plans will revolve around DAO structures. That's for sure. Because I mean, the D in DAO is decentralized, so there are obviously many benefits to it. But it also can be like any other thing. Innovation comes with its challenges. All that aside, education is number one. The second thing is to actually get the Mocha community banding together. So literally a very exciting time for everybody because everybody kind of like understands. First they're educated, okay, how these DAOs are run. Obviously there are more seasoned, experienced DAO leaders where you can delegate your mochas to them if you feel the need to not participate yourself. And that like creates a lot of like discussions, everybody understands. But again, like ultimately all these things, engagement, community and whatnot, all started because of having education at the forefront of everything. Yeah. The $2 million though, I didn't dive deep into it. I wasn't able to find too many things about it, but like 2 million edition ape coins is a very interesting number. I think it's something to do with like being like the lead or like wanting to pass Machi, maybe. That is pure speculation. DYOR on that, but yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I think good.
No, I after Machi passed his proposal, if I'm remembering correctly, there was some proposal from somebody at Animoca. I don't think it was the Mochaverse DAO, but I remember it faced a lot of backlash. So could this be potentially a response to that? Of be like, hey, we're just gonna buy more tokens so we can do our thing. Just they're well within the rights to do that. Is there a connection there?
That is, I put it quite up top there. Maybe they felt like it wasn't fair or whatever. But yeah, I think for me, I didn't know anything about DAOs until this happened. Because like me and Puke, we were very close to the Mocha team, and I was like, okay, what is happening? Like 1.5 million. So Mochaverse, if you're a Mocha holder, you can vote for AIP related proposals. I was like, oh, okay. I even say AIP proposals where like proposal is in AIP literally. I was like, okay. I was like understanding, and they went through the whole thing of like selecting community members, and Mocha was like in, and everybody's just like.
That is really interesting that they're taking the opportunity to educate people who might otherwise have no exposure to a DAO, right? Because I personally take it for granted. Like, oh, if you're in NFTs, you probably know about DAOs, you probably know about this, but like that may not be true. So that's really interesting that they're doing that. I think that's cool. But Tony, what were you saying?
One question I have for you guys, if you guys know, do you have any clue how community members vote and how like the allocation of the ApeCoin gets decided?
Yeah, so it is the same as AIPs as well. So for Mocha at least, if it's like, I think there's 3 options, right? You go for, what's it called? Yeah, for, against, or abstain. And then
Right.
basically if majority goes for that 1.5 million vote, or now it's 3.5 million, 3.5 million, it will go vote yes, or whatever the decision based off that.
Okay, so Mocha basically does a majority vote, and then whichever majority wins, all their ape goes that way. That is pretty simple.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean personally, I love that idea. I think I read that article. I think this puts Mochaverse at like the top 6 holders of ApeCoin. I think Machi has over
behind Machi.
Yeah, Machi has like 4 million, so he's still a big player out there. It is obviously, like when you do have a whale like him out there and he's just like, I'm fucking woke up on the wrong side of my bed. I'm going to, like fail this into existence. It is good to have like some forces of like stabilization out there. I think it's interesting. I guess I didn't hear any backlash, particularly that it's like Animoca, like as this brand doing it. Granted, it's like Maeve said, it's decentralized. Anybody with money can do it. I like, for example, like for the incubator, I don't think I'd say like, hey, let's take $2.5 million out of 5 million and put it into Ape because it's volatile, right? It's just a risk tolerance thing. But if Mochaverse has it, like, I mean, that almost makes me want to buy one of those NFTs just to do it. Obviously, like I guess you can't make proposals, but I at least in terms of getting, like you said, getting people used to voting and caring about it, like being part of like the Web3 political process, I think that's great. I think that's,
if you owned a Mochaverse token and you could convince other Mochaverse holders to vote a certain way, you could swing over 2 million votes like that. I feel like that's real power in a DAO.
It is real power. I think like in the chats and the discussions, like the way I would portray it is literally like a political debate, man. Like it's no joke. Like obviously in the chats they don't really talk so much, but I presume like behind the scenes there's a lot of lobbying that goes on. I think Harry Forge, he does an amazing job, setting all his foundation, everything right leading up to this point. So yeah, I think he's definitely one example of somebody that understands this concept very well.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'd love to hear about that. Yeah, thanks for kind of educating us a little bit on what's going on with that. I think that's very, very cool. Let's move things over to the West a little bit. We were going to talk about Gutter Cat Gang. We've talked about that a good bit, so I think we'll move past that. I think the next thing that I wanted to talk about was Utes bridging to ETH. Tony, do you have a take on this? I have some thoughts. I'm curious what you think.
Quickly, I guess, what were they on? Polygon before?
That's right.
Yep.
I think it's good to just keep things all on ETH, like ETH, just in general of like that's where the liquidity is. At
Right.
least in the blue chip. Sorry, I said that term, but just like that's where like the more expensive like art NFTs are. Historically speaking, that's where CryptoPunks are, and I think that they just kind of set the tone for where things are going to be. I think they've played around with that so many times. I think it got gimmicky. I think it got super old, and it's just like quit moving them. I think interoperability in terms of like Web3 and blockchain is super important. I'm not in the D Labs ecosystem enough, but I don't think it made there was any good reason why they did it. I think they had a Polygon grant that they got a couple $1 million for, but they paid it back.
Right.
Maybe I don't know. Like I don't know if that was a principled take or a really stupid idea because that was like money that they could have used to help build the project. But because I don't understand how they make money right now. Besides, just hey, you want to play a game for a Tesla? I'm not exactly sure where their sustainability, like from revenue standpoint, is. So like, is the candle going to burn out? Was it a good idea to give back millions of dollars that you paid back?
Yeah.
I think it was a horrible idea to give back the money. Like they gave back, I'm pretty sure it was like 2 or 2.5 million, which is like,
we're assuming that it was a choice to give it back too. That wasn't like a contractual obligation, right? Like, oh, hey, if you stay on Polygon for a certain amount of time, if you don't.
But that's what I'm saying. So why would you want to go back to ETH? Did they expect that that's going to get them more than $3 million that they already had?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, the kind of calculation, the calculus on like, yeah, if we go back to ETH, do we make this more money back? That's
besides, they're just like the comeback. We're coming back.
But there's a lot of speculation about why they give back because more importantly, they actually when they breeds youths over, the BTC DGods did really well. And so like in terms of speculation on like spaces, people talk about it, or even their community is more towards like, all right, they didn't have the money before, and so they were kind of like stuck. Polygon came out to give like a helping hand, so it's like, okay, fuck it, let's hop over. And then later on realize like, oh, you know what, we did good, we have a good collection. I feel like on ETH we're gonna do more. So like even if they give back, maybe it didn't dent them anything, because they're already doing super well on like BTC. So there is a speculation so far. I'm not too sure if it's true, but it definitely sounds like it's true.
Yeah, I'd say two things. I would hope that they have something really good in play, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, screw it. Like we don't care about this. This is peanuts." Flip side, I'd also say like Bitcoin ordinals by Yuga Labs did good in the sellout, but where'd they go now? I don't know.
Yeah, they're doing some like 12-fold puzzles and stuff like that.
12 yeah.
But I think that the thing with Tony, you said it right yourself. You're like, okay, it's getting a little bit gimmicky. I think there's almost like a bridge fatigue, or it just seems like maybe this is a hot take, but it seems like people are getting a little bit tired of the DeGods playbook, just in general, right? I'm of the opinion that the worst thing that can happen to a project is apathy, is that people don't care. And it just seems to me that Utes bridging to ETH, people don't care, right? And Frank has said it himself. He's like, once they stop talking about us, we're dead, right? And I think that we saw 50% of people bridge their Utes in the first 24 hours, as where Polygon, I think, was like 98% or something like that. Don't quote me on that. But that's where I'm concerned, is that DeGods has always been about hype. It's always been about the attention, the meta, and it seems like they've lost the plot there.
I'll give a devil's advocate to that point though. I do think there are a lot of influencers that wear Utes. Like there are some of those Utes like legendary, and like there's a number of them that I'm like, holy shit, they have a lot of followers. You know what I mean? And like, these like growth advisors and stuff. I'm not sure necessarily why they gravitated there or where they were previously, because Utes is only around for so long.
Yeah, so I think that's the story, with Utes is the best I can tell. So let's maybe move on to something else here.
And I do need a rug in like 2 minutes, just for what it's worth.
Okay, cool. Well then, hey, we'll keep it quick. I've got some Western alpha for those in the East, and I'll try to give it to you as quick as I can, because we referenced this earlier about minting mechanics, having fun on chain, things like that. That seems to be really popular. I would say that is it. I won't say this translates to value, at least currently, but I think it's worth keeping your eye on. I'm seeing a lot of things that have unique minting experiences, and I'll name them kind of quickly in succession. So, one, there's an app called Floor, which has traditionally been a portfolio tracking app. They did a collaboration with Art Blocks on chain. So you could mint an Art Blocks NFT from the Art Blocks engine directly in app using the Apple payment rails. So that's like double tap, Apple Pay, scan with your face. You just bought an Art Blocks NFT. So that's huge. Keep an eye on that. There's another company called Courtyard.io. They're doing Pokemon cards on Polygon. They have mastered the pack opening process, the pack drop. It reminds me of Top Shot. They're selling out pack drops left and right, Pokemon cards. And this is I think goes into another meta. Real world assets on chain, right? People are looking for things a little more tangible, that have a little more fundamentals and, comparative to NFTs, right? We're talking about Pokemon cards, but Pokemon cards are established. We know what that market looks like. And it's being elevated on chain. So Courtyard.io, watch that. Polygon minting, pack opening, unique minting experience. Let's see. The other one I wanted to talk about was Transient Labs. If you're looking at art NFTs, watch Transient Labs. They're dropping a new smart contract. It seems like every week that they have unique minting experiences, and they recently did a collab gallery space with Proof in the Foundry called Outliers, and each artwork has a unique contract that allows you to do different things, right? Like if you purchase the NFT, you can select from a selection of artworks, right? I'm not doing it the justice that it deserves, but their smart contracts are really interesting, and I think you're going to see a lot of artists working with Transient Labs. So I would kind of watch them. All of these things that I'm describing are using unique minting experiences, or they're elevating the minting experience, right? So I think that's the thing to watch out for. If I had to have a little meta, a little alpha.
Yeah, I want to add on one more, Tony, before you go.
Yeah, take your time.
So it is a funny story, right? So last week we have spaces, and then one of our outreach team invited this project called Symbiogenesis, and when he came on top, I think Maeve knows it, but I only realized that actually this is the official project from Square Enix. So it's like a huge project.
Yes.
And we did the spaces, we got bullish on it, learn about the whole project. And one thing led to another. I was at ETH KL, and I just randomly bumped into this guy. And he flew from Japan over to Malaysia to attend some of the events and travel and stuff like that. And he represented this company called Pacific Meta Game Guild. So PMGG, they are the one that launched and helped the marketing for Square Enix project. So it's like I do spaces. The next week, I met the guy. Today I had a breakfast with him to talk about the project and everything. And this project is like super low key because everybody knows Square Enix, but all their content is written in Japanese, right? And so, like, if you guys are a gamer, this project Symbiogenesis is definitely a project you want to look out for, because right now it's just go on to the website, play the game, farm the relics, and they are only giving out, I would say the whitelist is actually free, 500 pieces only. So you have to like be the top, I would say 500 people to play the game, collect the relic, and then second week of November the game will end. So if you're like the top 500, then you have like free mint to the collection, which will be, I would say, the first Square Enix project. So definitely expect, like, people are gonna get hype about it. It's often like this Japanese project, it's like you don't know about it, but once it minted, and then people be like, oh, this is the Square Enix project, and then all the hype and stuff like that come. So look out for
that's great alpha, because I know that Square Enix had teased some Final Fantasy NFTs in the past. And they got a lot of flack for it, and so got eviscerated by the gaming community. And so it makes sense that maybe they'd be approaching it a little more subtly, a little more kind of low key, a little more detached. So I think that's really cool and great alpha there. That's awesome. Well, let's see.
Let Square Enix cook.
Let Square Enix cook. And I would be remiss without saying that it's Doodle's second birthday today. So we get a shout out to the OG community. So super excited for that. Super excited for Complex Con coming up in a month, where Doodles is going to be got your hat locked and loaded. So yeah, this has been awesome. I love that. That's perfect. This has been awesome. You know, this has been a lot of fun. I love getting to chat with you guys from Rug Radio Asia, hearing everything that's going on there. It's super exciting because the algorithms do not. Yes, love that. The algorithms don't. I'll throw in something. So,
Okay.
Oh, I'll match you.
oh, perfect.
This guy.
Yeah, the algorithms do us dirty, and they don't, bring us the worldwide news. So it's been really cool to get to connect with you guys and hear everything that's going on. It's really exciting, especially in a time that, may not be as exciting, for everybody. It's really cool to hear new news, new things going on, and that there is definitely action going on in the space. So awesome.
Most definitely. Puke, Maeve, Lifts. It was very awesome to have you guys together for Silk Road episode number 2. We will be here at the same time, the same place in 2 weeks. We're going to see how that cadence works. We might do some short form chopped up stuff, but this is not the last you've seen of us.
Yes.
And we'll have to hear you guys from Ape Fest.
Yeah. We will be in Hong Kong for the 3rd episode, so I'm excited.
We're gonna have a lot to talk about. We're gonna have a lot to talk about in a couple of weeks. We're gonna have a lot to talk about in a couple of weeks. Awesome. All right, everybody. We're gonna wind things down. Thanks for tuning in today. Thanks for choosing to spend your time with us. We're super grateful. Hopefully you got some alpha, some geographic alpha, some value, or at least maybe a laugh from us fools. So we'll see y'all in a couple weeks. Take it easy.